We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Storm Duck, Miami Dolphins corner, number 36 here on the boundary. Just did a really good job in man coverage in this preseason week 1 debut with Sticky. I think he had like one negative play, but you're going to lose that corner at times, but he bounced back, made multiple positive plays after that negative play, as you'll see. Really impressed overall from what I saw from Duck. I think the whole UDFA group actually like combined did a really good job. And I think with Duck, I think he's probably the first one that you're trying to get on the practice squad. There's just so many bodies in that defensive back room with like guys that are going to make the roster guaranteed that it's very unlikely UDFA makes unless there's injuries. But I feel like he's that first guy you try to get on that practice squad. So going here, we'll look, start breaking down this play. First play here, playing press man. I think he did a good job when he got this responsibility. He had a good feel for it and anticipation when routes started to break. And I love how he finished playing through the hands there. He stays square and patient, waits for him to make his first move. Good bend, good base. I think overall technique is pretty solid. Then once he sees this guy take the outside release, he opens up. Probably could even stayed patient, a tick longer, but I still think he's in a good spot. And then he's in, pretty much even with the receiver like this. When you're even, you can kind of go both ways. You can turn away from the receiver, turn back. He probably should have turned the opposite way, I think, to play the back shoulder. But he's still able to at least turn his head around, find the ball, play through the hands. Good job. Like the receiver tries to go over the top of him. Things aren't always going to work perfectly. Like this is a tough position to be in. But just goes up, puts that left hand up, and disrupts, plays through those hands, knocks it out. That's like textbook work there from Duck. Because this was like one of his, first drives in the game, and they went after him. Back-to-back plays vertically. I like seeing when these corners basically get isolated, like they started running, some single high looks, giving him an isolated look on the boundary, back-to-back plays. This one, I think, at the end he could have played a little bit better, but he did another job, just sticky and man coverage. Allowed very little separation when he was playing in press man. Plays this one a little bit differently, like with his first step, like, kind of sells like he might get physical at the line with that first step forward. Boom. Starts to gain a little bit of depth this time. Really, reading the hips of the receiver, feeling this, opens up. And even when he was opening up a little bit early, he was still did a good job of breaking when it was, like curls, hitches, things like that. But stays in a good spot again, step for step with the receiver. This is why you want to turn into the receiver. He kept turning away. You only want to do this when you're like, low field shoulder. But if you're upfield shoulder, which he's more in like that even range, you kind of want to turn to the receiver so you can play the back shoulder like this. But it's still a high, hard pass to complete. Could have played it a little bit better at the catch point, I think. But still allowing very little separation at all throughout the game. And I think that's like the biggest thing is Duck was not allowing that separation to happen versus the receivers vertically down the field. They tried him early. They tried him a decent amount too. This was his one negative play of the game. This is when the Dolphins went 0. So this puts them in a tough spot. Like Dolphins go 0. It's always very difficult when, as a corner, the team goes 0 and they don't get the pressure instantly. It's a good job by the quarterback getting rid of the ball really early. I don't even think Duck played it that bad. Like he's reading leverage, and once he breaks, like he does a good job getting downhill and almost making the play at the catch point. The reason he doesn't finish this tackle here is because he's really going, for that knockout, and he just doesn't quite get it. Doesn't finish the tackle. But I do like to see how he responded after this. Literally the same drive, he made multiple good plays to bounce back from this at corner. It's one of the toughest positions in the league, especially when you're left on an island like this. Plays are going to be made against you, like the other team's getting paid too. They start trying to throw a fade against him. He plays with good press man technique. I like seeing, like, if you can play some press man stuff, and I already knew that Duck was pretty good in zone in college, so this is nice to see those types of things, like, because he's always a pretty good anticipatory player when playing in, like, as a deep third defender out of Louisville or North Carolina. He does a good job. Like, he has slide outside leverage here. The receiver, tries to give him a little shake to the inside, but he stays patient. He maintains that outside leverage, stays square. Then once you see him commit, open up those hips. This time he turns, back into the receiver with his eyes. Love seeing that because he at least understands the situation that when you have a fade like this and you're in this positioning, they're going to try to throw the back shoulder. And he was in a great spot to take it away. Ball ends up being thrown incomplete because the quarterback is just seeing the leverage of Duck and definitely doesn't want to give Duck the chance to intercept it. But yeah, he just played that really well. Definitely some nice technique down in the red zone. Nice seeing him respond. And then also just shortly after, another nice play down the red zone where he's playing as a flat defender. the number 1 that he's on ends up, releasing the inside. But he gains some depth here, just in case, this guy ends up breaking into the corner. He can take that away. This guy starts to work into his area. He's kind of baiting that throw, but he was reading through the QB that the QB wasn't looking there yet. Now that this guy's working away, he hasn't stuck with it. He's just kind of still maintaining that zone of this part of the field. And once he's a QB commit, he starts to fly downhill, but then he feels this guy right here. If he knows if he flies downhill, this space is going to be wide open. So he just stays patient, still takes away this throw, takes with his throw, and once he sees the quarterback really commit past the line, he gets downhill and then hits him, stops him short of, the line to gain. It was a 3rd down too. Like, that's just really good work from Duck. Just smart, disciplined play down in the red area. Didn't overcommit, didn't panic. That's really nice work. Another rep from Duck. This is like kind of what I was talking about when it comes to, we've seen him work a lot of things on the vertical plane. This is a 3rd down situation. They were trying to, they threw multiple verticals against him earlier. We saw here, similar thing. I think, you look at his leverage, look how he's playing it. He's clearly trying to put a cap over the top with how he's opening up pretty early. But even when he opened up early, that's where you try to get him with a different route, try to break on it. He's still able to get physical, feel this. He starts to anticipate. You can tell that he's reading the receiver's body language. Once he gets a hand on there, that he's ready for that route break. And then boom, in a good spot. It almost gets completed, but he's just not allowing separation. I think he's just got to be a little bit stronger finishing at the catch point. But I think this is a very, very good sign for him that he was not allowing that separation. Dolphins, as a UDFA, they already gave him a nice signing bonus. That they liked him. They thought he was like a draftable player. And I think he's probably that DB, if he doesn't get claimed, that they're trying to keep out there. Here's just other reps where, maybe he doesn't get targeted, but he's, Dolphins are out there. They rotate and, into cover 3. The safety goes single high. He's just playing out here on that deep 3rd, but he's basically matched up on this number 1, and he's reading leverage, starts to anticipate. You can see he's starting to break. Like, he's already preparing himself to break before this guy's even cut. That's just good anticipation skills. That's why I want to show this stuff. I do think his transition can be a little more clean. I think that's kind of something he's not like the most fluid athlete, which is why, maybe he, went much later than expected, went UDFA. But he does have good instincts. I think, some good linear athleticism. Definitely can be sticky in man coverage, as we've seen. But it's nice to see those types of things. Here's another example of his instincts. Now, this looks like he had some crazy anticipation with how he center field turns this. But he just understands, like, he's reading through the quarterback here. Now, he, probably takes some false steps here early with just how the receiver's attacking it. But he's reading through the receiver here. He sees the quarterback's rolling out. So he understands when he's rolling out like this is going to be, he knows he has inside help to the safety. So he's just like, if this receiver does break to the inside, the safety there is to take it away. I'm just going to flip around knowing that, like, the flow of this play is going to be to this side of the field. This receiver is probably going to break it back across. So I'm just going to anticipate that just based off what the QB is doing. He's not just doing this, like, big turn just because he thinks the receiver is going to break that way. It's because he thinks, because the quarterback's doing this, that the whole flow of the play, and he has inside help. And now he's just in a perfect spot to take away, that 7 to the receiver. Receiver just basically gives up on his route. Here's an example of him playing down the flat. Earlier he was kind of just covering the grass, which I think is more understandable down in the red zone, especially when they start to escape that pocket. But here he knows, like, he doesn't need to cover grass. Like, he's trying to get hands on one outside release. So when you don't want to give up an outside release when you're playing cover 2. So that's the part you don't like. But he's looking to find number 2. He sees number 2 does not break to his side. Nothing breaks to his side. So then he just carries this. Doesn't have eyes on the receiver. But now by carrying this, even though he gave it the outside release, by carrying this, it makes it you can't throw the whole shot here between the safety and the corner because he's taking away that leverage. That's just a smart play to adjust there. I also think Duck was definitely willing to get involved in the run game. I think the whole DB room got involved in the run game. Like, he was willing to get his tackles, making a tackle at like 3 or 4 yards. Pretty impressive for an outside corner there. Discipline. And I think that's something that's happened throughout training camp too, is he's been involved in some tackling, and I think he's had a pretty solid training camp. Really, like, that whole group. I think Isaiah Johnson played impressive this game. Jason Maitre, some the safeties too, the younger safeties. They kept trying to give him vertical looks, and I do like that. Once Bonner came out, they kept leaving Duck on an island, and I like seeing them give him that responsibility. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought he stayed square. I thought his footwork was pretty solid. and then he just didn't allow any separation on this island down here at the bottom of the screen. Just played good, solid, disciplined football. I think his eye discipline was good too, whether he's in man and zone. I think the eyes was another big thing for him. He doesn't get the target here. That's good rep on the other side of the field by the other corners. Here's just Duck being in the right spot, anticipating. Another kind of example of that play action boot where he's kind of just reading through. He sees the quarterback's booting. He's still maintaining his leverage. And once the tight end, he doesn't want to hard commit to the outside because the tight end could just sit right there, just based on where he is. But then once he sees it, he's not threatened by it. Is in the good spot to take that away. Doesn't allow any separation. Then the quarterback has to basically throw it away. Another target of his where he just wasn't allowing any separation. Like literally, if he got close to the receiver at any point, he didn't really allow any separation at the catch point. Even his negative play where he was playing off man, he was there right at the catch point. It's just didn't work out. That type of thing ends up happening. I think Duck understood his responsibility, his leverage. He knows where he has help. He knows, like right here, he's in cover 3. Like they're running basic coverages here. They did a lot of this play action boot. He kind of starts to sit on this once he sees like it's play action again. He's kind of ready for like a quick break. This time it's not as flat of an angle from the receiver, but he's still in the right spot. Knows he has that middle of the field help. It's middle of the field close, and now just basically that full route is taken away. No chance for that to really get involved. And then last play, we're gonna look at Duck just getting downhill involved in the running game again. He doesn't get the cleanest tackle, but I like to see that he's at least throwing his body down in there to slow it down, and then people, work to it, continue flying to the ball. That was one of the biggest things with the whole defense. So yeah, that was the Storm Duck film I wanted to break down. I'll have an Isaiah Mack film breakdown later today, and then I'm going to continue going to guys I think like Isaiah Johnson in the secondary. I might do Jason Maitre. I got Andrew Meyer on deck to come up pretty shortly. Also, Brandon Peely played us all game. There's a lot of guys in this game who did a very good job, I think, of raising their stock. I think the only players that really didn't raise their stock were the QBs, and then outside of Malik Washington, I think the receivers really struggled. So receivers, QBs, we'll see how they step up in the next game. We'll see if preseason 2, I want to see how the rotation works, see if guys got raised above other ones. That's a big telling sign for the 53. It was a sign last year, so that will be something to keep an eye on. And we'll see if any of the starters really end up playing too. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe.